The time draws near. Here we are in Ratchet. This is where it began, right? For most people, if you play player versus player and you're a World of Warcraft player that enjoys PvP specifically, most likely you've been on this boat, you've got off it and you've fought the Horde, or you've been one of them zugzuggers in Crossroads and you've been actually holding the line, right? Maybe. Well, in Ashenvale, that is the first place in Classic WoW that you end up meeting the Horde, you know, trying to survive in the world against the Horde, essentially. You're doing quests, they're doing quests, and you could collide. Up until then, you're probably in like Westfall. You won't really see many Horde in Westfall, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like PvP is something that's really quite deeply rooted into the game's core. You know, it was a perilous journey going through Ratchet, then past the Crossroads, and getting yourself all the way to Ashenvale. And I think that with this new patch 10.2 in retail, it's going to kind of bring back some of that enjoyment, because what actually was a thing in Classic WoW is you would queue for random battlegrounds. Now, as you saw with the relaunch of Classic WoW, random battlegrounds were in fact very popular once more, and people were very keen to get the Grand Marshal set, you know, the set that I'm wearing right now, by spamming even the same battleground again and again and again. That's Alterac Valley. So I definitely think there's a massive portion of players, maybe you're one of them watching this video, that truly do just enjoy the PvP of WoW. You know, you like to be able to get home, press the button, queue for a battleground, and enjoy yourself. Now, unfortunately, the current state of the game in retail WoW is that if you'd like to do that and play a serious battleground, realistically, you need to be playing Rated Battlegrounds. Now, to do that, it's a 10 versus 10 game format. You must join somebody else's group or make your own, and essentially you need a flag carrier, 6 DPS, and 3 healers. It can take up to 45 minutes, maybe longer to get them, get the group together. And even if you do get the group together, it's not necessarily true to say that that group's the winner, right? You could have someone in the team that's just got no keybinds and no idea, unless you're willing to sit there and individually inspect every player to ensure they have the correct experience. Now, I'm not big on that personally, and I don't think you should have to do that faff in the first place, but the core of the problem there is you must queue as a 10 versus 10 group, and you must have a flag carrier. Flag carrier is by far the most boring role to play, and probably the most unpopular. You spend your time defending a base where you do nothing because no one will dare challenge a tank. Perhaps somebody will come and challenge you, and perhaps you'll lose, or perhaps you'll win. It's not that fun to do, in my opinion, base defending. Or it'll be a flag map, one of the 2 flag maps on the rotation. I think it's about out of 8. I think there's quite a few maps that are not flag maps, so you can spend a lot of time defending. And on those flag maps, it's down to you. You've got to carry the flag. That's probably where the fun comes in. There are undoubtedly some people that enjoy that aspect of the gameplay, and it's long overdue that they introduce some kind of new modes into retail WoW to accommodate this. So that's exactly what they're doing. In 10.2, we are going to be traveling back in time, it's going to feel like, because you're actually going to have the capacity to be able to once more get home, press the button, queue for a battleground, and have it be worth playing. Why do I say that? Well, you probably know, if you're a PvP player, that doing a random battleground is really quite pointless in retail. You enter there to get your gear, to get your honor gear, so that you can then do rated content and actually begin to get gear that is of relevance. Unfortunately, in random battlegrounds as well, they have so many like potions and stuff that you can use to increase your damage and have a massively unfair advantage. Often you'll get in there and you're being graveyard camped. There's not much you can do about it because you've got your blue gear on, right? You don't stand a chance against someone in like full epic gear. And this is very off-putting, especially for new players, because it is a mandatory journey to do random battlegrounds instead of a fun thing that you'd like to do and see the progression from. So I would like to see what happens in 10.2, and I'm very, very optimistic that it will have a massive effect on the interest in people playing PvP. You know, there'll be a lot of returning players. If you yourself are a PvP player, you should return for this. You should give it a go, 100%. I would say that many people will be spectacle as well, so I'm pretty aware of that. You know, it's not like the good old days. You know, in Crossroads, you used to go up there and you used to have danger at every turn. You know, the journey between Ratchet and getting to Ashenvale, you might not even make it there alive, right? There might be too many hordes. If you wanted to have a little bit of a go harassing people in Crossroads and trying to bring some poor levelers down, you could do it. Of course you could. It depends on your server, right? But here's the thing. It was always the most fun when it was a fair fight, right? It was always the most fun when it was either a really unfair fight that you won and you can laugh about, or a fair fight where it was a challenge and you really nearly did die there. And I think they need to bring that back into the game. And unfortunately, random Battlegrounds, they don't offer that. They really don't offer that fair fights. And Rated Battlegrounds, by default, if they intend to do what they're saying to do, you know, in 10.2 with the Battleground Blitz, it'll be an 8 versus 8 Rated Battleground experience where a flag carrier isn't required for one form of queuing, and then there's another form of queuing where a flag carrier is required. I'd imagine they'll split it up by the map pools as well. But that will mean by default the classes that join are random, a lot like Solo Shuffle. Now, maybe you're someone that plays PvP anyway. Maybe you don't mind. Maybe you sit in that queue for a big 45-minute wait for a flag carrier. Maybe you're a high player and you're only getting high XP guys and you have a great time in Rated Battlegrounds. Maybe that's you. You know, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you're not the majority. And there's a massive portion, maybe thousands of players, maybe hundreds of thousands of players who do love WoW PvP. But currently, there's no option for them to get involved. There really isn't an option. Think about it. That random Battleground that we used to do in Classic WoW and the world PvP that used to occur in Classic WoW, it's not occurring in retail. There is no way of doing PvP unless it's to actually have valuable, you know, competitive PvP unless it's rated right now. So with the introduction of Solo Shuffle, needless to say, it had a massive negative effect on the queuing system for people that tried to do 2v2 or 3v3 arenas. But here's what I think. I think with Rated Battlegrounds, you know, solo queue, Battleground Blitz, 8 versus 8, solo queue, it's going to be way, way more popular because it's Battlegrounds. It's by default. A lot of people I've met, they don't like to do arenas. They're not quite quick enough for that. But they would like to do Battlegrounds. And again, it is click and play. And on top of that, one of the features with this new mode is it's solo queue or it's duo queue. So we're kind of going to be able to make friends with a healer and queue up quicker, I'd imagine. Because you can queue up with a healer in duo queue. So if you've got a friend already that's a healer, get him ready and return to World of Warcraft. Get ready for PvP in 10.2. Now, there's one more thing I want to kind of touch on here, really. Because a lot of you guys will be looking at me and thinking, yeah, this guy's an optimist. He's not like me at all. He doesn't see it for what it is. He's an idiot. You know, no, I definitely do. And with PvP, Solo Shuffle is the latest variation that they've put through in Dragonflight to modernize arenas. Now, what effect did that have? Was it positive or negative? It was massively negative. It took away all of the interest in, if not, well, not all of the interest, most of the interest in 2v2 and 3v3 pre-made listings on the pre-made finder. It meant that when you were looking for a healer to play with or a mate to meet in the LFG for arenas, you couldn't meet him because they were all in Solo Shuffle. The popularity of Solo Shuffle, however, was so big that Blizzard has decided to introduce the same thing into Rated Battlegrounds. Now, if you think the population of Solo Shuffle is big, take my word for it. The population of Battleground Blitz, Rated Battleground 8 versus 8 that you can queue for with or without a flag carrier, needless to say, there's not very many flag carriers out there. That will mean the queue is going to be quick, that you can queue for with 2, you know, you and your healer friend. That will also mean the queue could be even quicker. But even just by yourself queuing up for it, because you don't need a flag carrier, that's going to be a pretty quick queue. There's going to be a lot of people playing the game there. That's my opinion on it. And how they dice out the healers is the only factor that could actually make the queues long. But with the duo queue, I'm confident there won't be a long queue. I'm also confident that Blizzard knows this. They've done this intentionally, and they know it's a win. That's why they've done it. But what they don't know is how big of a win it could be. And to be honest, initially, it's a test. It's an experiment, right? Look at what they're doing. They're putting in 500% increased mount speed. They're putting in these new abilities. You know, do you agree with that? I mean, I don't know if I agree with that because I haven't played it. Now, when we've played it, when we've tried it, we tested it, there's no doubt in my mind that this is the first form of 8 versus 8 Rated Battleground solo queue, and we are going to be able to have an impact on what happens in the future, you know? The changes that we need to make, we need to voice them and actually get it out there, because they have to try things out to make things more interesting. And I think the 500% movement speed increaser in particular is done with it in mind that base defense won't really be a big deal. That's the whole goal of that, I'd imagine, with them. They're trying to make it so that to alleviate that sort of, oh, what the hell are you doing? You know, you've capped the base. Oh my goodness, they've capped on you. Why didn't you get there? Come on, guys, you're all too slow. That kind of thing is not going to happen because you can have 500% movement speed increase It will happen, but it's not going to happen as much. So will that be a good thing or will that be silly? I don't know. I think it'll be a good thing. So why is this different to any kind of like PvP experience that we've had before? Well, it's different because not only are player versus player people going to have an interest in this. If you only play PvP, you know, you hate quests, you hate Mythic Plus, you're probably going to have, you know, absolutely no interest in doing a raid. But if you turn the coin on the other side, because I myself do PvP and PvE, you know, I enjoy dungeons. I also run a leveling guild, so I know all about what it takes to make a person who only enjoys PvE to do player versus player. I know all about what it takes to be able to get to a high rating in arenas and how intimidating that is to most people. And in Battlegrounds, it is simply not the same animal. So when they see that you can instantly press a button and do player versus player that is not only fun, but relevant, then they are going to be very interested to participate. Currently, random Battlegrounds, don't forget, they don't actually offer relevant rewards. There is no benefit for a PvE player going into random Battlegrounds to get blue gear. You could say like, well, oh well, they could do loads of them and get eventually get conquest gear. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to do that. Sorry, that's just stupid. That's not the way it is. You do things because you get rewards in a game. That's how you get fun from the game. There should always be a reward, there should always be an incentive, and it should always be a fair fight. What do you think, guys? Do you think rated Battlegrounds are a thing in 10.2 that's going to be extremely popular? Are they going to bring back the community? Is it going to have a massive impact on the game? I'll tell you what I think finally. Rated Battleground Solo Queue, Battleground Blitz is going to be exceptionally popular. It's going to have a massive negative effect on the current LFG for RBGs initially, but then it's going to have a huge effect on people having friends that play Rated Battlegrounds, and then we're going to see a spike in interest in not only 10v10 pre-made Rated Battlegrounds, but also the original solo queue, aka Battleground Blitz, is going to be exceptionally popular. I also think this will have a knock-on effect on WoW PvP as a whole. As long as Blizzard can get it correct and they can actually keep the balance somewhere close to good, then people will actually take more of an interest in solo queue. Undoubtedly, this is going to have a massive impact on the number of people playing a healer, because a healer is going to be essentially a key to the doorway in this new mode, as people can queue for duo. If you have a healer friend, you'll be able to queue up much quicker. There's no doubt in my mind that's how that's going to work. It's going to be a great incentive for people to re-roll to a healer. What do you think, guys? Make a comment in the chat down below, and give the video a like if you liked it. Thanks for watching. I've been Tamusas. Remember, good prevails!